Hi, I'm Drew, and I have a story that will just charm you.
Hi, I'm Melissa, and I have a story about an unusual gift given to Queen Victoria.
Hi, I'm Chris, and I have the strange story of Prince Randian.
What does all this have to do with snakes? Find out in this episode of History Bluffs. Hello and welcome to the Snakes episode of History Bluffs, where truth is stranger than fiction. Here are your guest snakes, Cleo and Ollivander. And now here is your host. Your host, it's Gina.
For those of you who are not watching and just listening on the podcast, Adam's lovely girlfriend Laura has put up, or
Fiance.
Put up. They own two snakes, and they're beautiful creatures, actually. And then she just had them up there, and they were just dancing together, and it was so beautame. I wish you could have seen it.
I'll put them back up. They're still hanging out.
Hang out. They're like so lovely and like perfect. Did you tame them? Like, it's amazing.
What? No, they're just wonderful little friendly fellas.
Wait. Oh, but Beans, what's the other one's name?
That's Cleo. There she is. She's getting into trouble.
She's hiding.
Hey.
She's camera shy, whereas Bean is totally like, I'm on.
That's true. Okay, so all right, that's enough. So we're gonna let the snakes go back into their little hidey holes. Gina, the show is yours, but that's a great intro because snakes is our topic.
Yay! And we're going to play tonight, and we want you to play with us. This game is called History Bluffs. This podcast is called History Bluffs. And what we do on this podcast and this game is we actually tell you three stories. So we have three historians to my left, your right, and they will be telling you stories that they have found about history. But two of them will be telling complete true stories, and one of them will be bluffing. So that's the whole point of the game. They're going to try to trick you. And we have a few rules to guide us. So I'll tell you about those right now. Adam, if you can throw up the rules for us.
There they are. The rules of the game.
That's right. The rules go like this. They're super simple. The historians will tell the story inspired by the topic of snakes. It can be their whole story must be true if they are going to be telling a true story tonight. Two of them will be. One person out of these three historians will be bluffing. What that means is that their story will not be true. It can maybe be bookended with some factual material. They might have a couple of historical things that we all might recognize thrown in there just to throw us off. But the primary gist of your story must be completely made up. And then also, if we usually have people that watch and maybe comment in from home. When that happens, if we the only thing that we ask is that if you Google something just to see if it's true or not, please don't share it with the rest of the group because nobody likes a tattletale. So that's pretty much it, and we're just going to move right into the show now. And I'd love to just talk with the cast for just a second. And Drew, you have mentioned charming and all of that, and I understand that you are married now, right? And I have not met your wife, I don't think. Is that accurate? Oh, no. So tell us a little bit about how you charmed her into marrying you. I like to laugh already.
Awesome.
Well, you know what? This is a true story. We laughed at it. I got like a Black Friday deal on Match.com. So it was like buy 6 months, get 6 months free. So I feel like I got her on a discount.
I hope that you tell her that because that is charming. Very cool. No, I would think that to be with you, she must have a great sense of humor. So I think that's awesome. And so what's her name, by the way?
Andrea.
Okay, cool. And then, so Melissa, tell us a little bit, like, have you ever had somebody who has snaked you or has ripped you off, anything like that in your lifetime?
Ooh, good question.
Thanks. I think I need a moment.
Yeah, so like a ripped off situation. Yeah, you know what? I'll say it this way. I feel ripped off every time I go to a Firehouse Subs. And there is
I'm waiting. I know I am listening. I just was surprised to hear that.
Fountain soda machine at Firehouse is one of those Coca-Cola freestyle machines.
Yeah.
And the thing is, because of the way that those like interchanging like dispensers go, it blends all the flavors together. So it makes the soda worse. So
I
never thought about that.
Yeah, that's true. Like you almost have to run it on seltzer water for a little while to clear out things or something. I don't know. Do they cross the streams? I bet they cross the streams.
I think they do.
How could they not? Oh, damn it.
Also, I have to protest your use of the word snake as an evil thing, because those two snakes we saw at the top of the show are adorable.
They're adorable, and they are. And just so you know, if you have this fear of snakes or whatever, go to Adam's house and hold his snakes. They're fabulous. So Chris, I would like to you grew up in New York, where I don't know how many snakes there are, but not as many as Florida. When you first moved here, were you given any advice about snakes or anything like that? Tell us a little bit about your first experience.
Oh, absolutely. Yes. So I had already started playing golf when I lived in New York. And even before we moved down here, my wife's family, we were close up there. And that when they moved down first, her parents and some of her cousins and her uncle. And I was very good at finding golf balls that went off the fairway into the woods and stuff. And
not yours though, right? Never.
No, including my own.
Oh, okay.
and one of the very first things her uncle told me when I came down, when we were just looking at houses to move down here, he said, because I know you're good at it. He goes, you got to leave them. He goes, don't go in the woods. You got to leave them because there's snakes everywhere. So that was that and a warning about trying to, don't try to outrun an alligator. I'm like, well, I would never do that. I'm like, especially for a golf ball. I'm like, if my golf ball's near a gator, he can have the ball.
He can have
it. Yeah, he can just have it. He's just you're not even gonna, not at all. No, that's true. When I first moved down here, they said there's coral snakes and they can kill you, which was then I was like, I don't want to see any snakes. And they said, red on yellow, you're a dead fellow. Red on black, you're okay, Jack. And I was like, my name's not Jack. And I'm just screeching. Like there's no, if I see a snake, I'm not getting close enough to see what their color pattern is.
But Gina, it's not just coral snakes, also band snakes too.
Bandit snakes?
Band.
Band, B-A-N-D?
Yeah, not just coral snakes.
That got a rim shot, not a sad trombone.
I liked it. It's whatever I like.
Oh, you liked it. Okay.
I was in both chorus and band.
So you're both kinds of snakes. That's great. So now we know a little bit about our players. We're going to get into the show. The way it's going to go in 3 rounds. Adam, would you put the round tracker right above our heads? This is going to tell us how many people have gone in each round, so we can keep track, because I'm an idiot when it comes to that. No. I pay attention to stories. I love the stories and I always forget. So, and we're just going to go right in order. So Drew, I'd love to start with your story. You'd mentioned something about charm. Please regale us with your snake story as soon as you hear the boom, and you get 75 seconds.
I'm going to tell you about Nali Damajanti, perhaps the most famous snake charmer of all time. Nali was a 19th century snake charmer who toured with P.T. Barnum's circus in 1885 and also performed at the famed Folies Bergère in Paris, France, debuting in 1887. It was the latter where promotional posters depicted her as an exotic-looking beauty of Hindu descent holding several large snakes. These posters were actually quite popular and have been deemed the most beautiful to come out of the Folies Bergère era. Because of that, they are still widely reproduced today. And these posters are also thought to have inspired one of the popular folk images of the African water spirit, Mami Wata. But guess what? Nali Damajanti was just a made-up stage name. Who was she really?
Yeah.
Turns out, Nali Damajanti's real name was Emily Poupon. She was born in Nancy, France on July 4th, 1861. I will tell you more about who Emily Poupon is and her rise to fame in round number 2.
Yay! That's awesome. I want Meredith from Grey's Anatomy to have that last name. She'd be Meredith Grey Poupon. I guess. Well, she'd have to marry into it. Okay, so her real name was Emily. Like this Hindu, like kind of exotic, kind of. That's awesome. Please, Chris, what are your thoughts?
Well, I was just blown away by Drew telling us this unpronounceable name, and then in the next sentence saying she's the most famous snake charmer of all time. Nobody even know who the hell. How do you even say that name?
That's true.
But in the interest of entertainment for our audience, I will offer to give all of my time and all of my rounds to Drew so he can just continue saying those kinds of names throughout the whole show.
with what I'm going to only assume is the correct pronunciation. No, I mean, like,
how do we know? How do we know it's
how
not?
do we know? You know,
correct.
That would be part of the strategy.
He is correct.
Yes. Melissa, please, your thoughts.
Yeah, I feel like struggling with pronunciation is a known bluff tactic, just saying. So, I mean, I will say, too, I thought, I know now that you said this, Gina, but I thought you said Coupon was her last name. We were just talking about coupons.
Oh my
Emily
God.
Coupon. No, I think, that I'm going with the name theory. And if I'm Drew, I'm like, I got to simplify this. I'm just going to call her Emily. Like, that's my tactic. All right. So that means that we're going to just keep on going, Melissa. It's going to be your turn now. So you go ahead with your round one. Introduce us to your story about, I forget what the queen's name was, but please go for it.
All right, so I take us to the Victorian era with Queen Victoria. So
that one.
That one. So around 1837 to 1901 was the Victorian era in Britain, and it came with it kind of a certain culture of morality, of gift giving, and intellectual pursuits. It was also around the same time that Darwin published his On the Origin of Species. So we had this newfound love of like the natural world. And it was also the time that the British rule of India was still happening, and otherwise known as the British Raj or rule. And so one of the princes, which was called the Maharaja, he actually sent 2 cobra snakes to Queen Victoria, 2 Indian cobra snakes. And he sent it in this nice little basket that was like encrusted with jewels and things like that. So it looked all nice. And she was absolutely delighted by the snakes, which is kind of an interesting story because when the British first got to India, they actually pretty much made a, I guess, contest to try to get rid of some of the cobras. You'll have to hear about that in part 2.
So she was cool. She was cool with a basket of snakes. That's amazing. All right, Chris, please. I want to. You just lean back in your chair like you got something. Go for it.
Well, the thing is, Queen Victoria, Victorian era, morality, gift giving, Darwin, British rule of India. There's a lot going on in that first 75 seconds by Melissa there. I'm just saying, she's throwing a lot of stuff against the wall. That's all I'm going to say.
Yeah, I mean, she's using the same pronunciation technique, in my opinion. So there we go. Drew, thoughts, please.
She lost me when she said intellectual pursuits because I'm just.
Drew, that means smart things.
Oh.
I know, yeah. and then this prince got 2 cobra snakes. Sounds like he got a Black Friday deal.
Yeah, exactly. Maybe a BOGO, buy one get one free. That's what it
BOGO
was.
cobra.
So snakes are honestly, aren't they poisonous snakes? Like you got a basket full of poisonous snakes and you're happy about that?
They're venomous, not poisonous.
Oh, what's the difference?
Poisonous, if you touch it, you get killed or sick.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Venom comes out of the fangs.
Oh, and it also comes out a woman scorned. So, okay, so now we're going to go. I think that means, thank you. You could have done a sad trombone.
I don't know. It was good to me.
Whatever. Thanks. So now, no, we actually have one more. I'm so sorry, Chris. I almost skipped you. Chris, it is your turn. Please tell us about Prince whatever.
Prince Ronnie.
Let's do it.
Prince whatever. Okay, Prince whatever. So, the strange story of Prince Rondian also includes P.T. Barnum because Prince Rondian was born with a condition called tetra-amelia syndrome, meaning that he was born without arms and legs. And he went by many names throughout his life, including the human torso, the human caterpillar, but he was best known as the Snake Man, as he was called during P.T. Barnum's shows. But before we get to P.T. Barnum's influence on his life, this Prince Rondian, He was born in British Guyana. Then he lived in the U.S. Virgin Islands. He was known because of this condition. He became ridiculously adept at doing many things that were routine in his life simply by using his mouth. He was able to roll cigarettes, light them, and even shave his own face, literally just by using his mouth. And he taught himself all this because he was an incredibly smart man. He was able to pick up things very quickly. And he was born in 1889, and there was a war in Europe in 1889. Just saying.
Chris will throw war into every story he does. I like that you said that he picked up a lot of things with his mouth. I'm going to say women if you got a mouth like that. So Drew, please,
hold that thought.
Oh, no.
Oh, my God.
Good night, Drew. All right. Well, Drew, you're shaking your head. Would you like me to go to Melissa first?
I'm good. I'm good.
Okay,
clearly stealing from my story with the P.T. Barnum connection.
Clearly.
Prince, was it Ramdi? Was it
Rondian? Rondian. It's a lot easier to say than Nali.
Oh my God! Which Godzilla enemy was Rondian?
Oh.
It's a Muslim holiday coming up, I think. Next week.
It's not. No, it's not.
No.
Well, all I can think of is when a guy with no arms and no legs in a walk-in water.
Will be canceled.
Can't do that.
Ladies and gentlemen, the management of History Bluffs does not condone that.
Oh my goodness.
I didn't know his first name.
That's true.
Okay, so Melissa, please, your thoughts to get us out of this.
Yeah, we're walking a tightrope here.
Okay.
Yeah.
There it is.
My only thoughts is I'm interested to see where this goes. I feel like I want to see if this story really has some teeth to it, you know?
Oh, Melissa. All right, so that means that we're going to be moving on because I think we've heard from everybody. And the only thing I wanted to just point out before we move on to the next round is that they really do all take place in the same time periods. And my curiosity is, like, did P.T. Barnum ever play did she ever go to the circus where they were performing? Because I think that's fascinating. And also I'm going to throw a little wrench in the works. Chris's story is based on British Guyana, and his best friend is Guyanese. Just throwing that out there. Okay, so now we're moving over to round 2, and I would love for you to take us into that, Adam, whenever you're ready.
All right, let's go to round number 2.
This is the round where it gets slightly shorter by 15 seconds, and you don't think that's a lot, but it really screws them up. It's going to be 60 seconds. Drew, you're going to start round 2. Go for it with Emily.
In 1881, Emily Poupon was working as a governess for a French family in St. Petersburg, Russia. She met and fell in love with a British circus performer named John Palmer. Palmer was known for his ceiling walking acrobatics, which earned him the nickname the British Human Fly. He introduced her to circus life and soon became her husband and manager. Together, they developed her snake charming act and the fake persona to add a layer of mystique. They became business partners with Carl Hagenbeck, a German merchant of wild animals who supplied many European zoos as well as animals to P.T. Barnum. Hagenbeck referred to her as his best snake customer and was impressed by her innovative snake taming techniques. The revelation that Damajanti was a stage name was prompted by a lawsuit in which the plaintiff confused her with another person. Emily, who was scheduled to depart for Hamburg in the near future, decided to reveal her true identity to the court in order to resolve the case as soon as possible.
Wait, could I go back for just a second, Drew? I'm so sorry. Where did the mix-up happen?
Where did it happen?
No, how did it happen again? What was the mix-up? I'm so sorry. I think I missed it.
There was just a random person accused her of being somebody else, unrelated to anything.
Okay.
And so to
So kind of like
her
reveal.
name.
Yeah.
To clear her name, she had to show her real identity to the court.
Oh, I want to know her snake charming tricks. This is good. Okay, Melissa, thoughts, please. Melissa's making faces like and squinching her eyebrows.
I have a lot of thoughts, but I'm going to reserve some of them. I will say that the only human fly I know about is Jeff Goldblum. So
That's
human
true.
fly in a circus, I don't know.
Yep.
No, okay. So the fly was very good, but not his best. He's doing so much better in the apartments.com commercials. Chris, please, your thoughts.
A random person. A random person.
Here we go.
Yes, is that
That's
it?
all I'm gonna say. A random person.
I think we all know what you mean. Okay, so that means Drew, your round is over for this round. We have one more round to go, and then we're gonna go to Melissa now to hear a little bit more about Queen Victoria, the Cobras, and all that jazz.
Okay. So when the British first arrived in India, there was actually a contest, basically, or I guess a reward given because the British soldiers thought that there were too many cobras around, and cobras are lethal. Just so you know, 7 to 20% will die from a cobra bite if you're bitten because of the neurotoxin. So they made this contest that will give you money if you bring us dead cobras, but it actually backfired on them because what ended up happening is people were breeding the cobras to make more money. And so it's actually an economic term called the cobra effect that economists use today still. But back to Queen Victoria and her cobras. Her cobras had specific names. They were Surya, which means sun, and Som, which means moon. And they both were sent to live at the London Zoo, which was opened in like the 1830s. And you'll have to hear what happens next.
Oh, okay. And then, contrary to popular belief, the zoo did not fall down. That was the bridge. So, Drew, your thoughts, please, on this story, the Cobra effect.
Well, in her first round, she said there was 2 cobras, and now there's too many cobras. So, just which is it? And then I'm interested. This cobra effect sounds like another version of like a pyramid scheme of some kind.
100%. You breed them, you kill them, you make money. Like it's a scheme, definitely some kind of scheme.
Could also be a Van Damme movie. The Cobra effect.
Yeah, the Cobra effect. Chris Berry is just he's just making faces and putting his little fingers by his mouth in disapproval. Your thoughts?
Wow.
Is that it?
I'm just like, 7 to 20%. It's a pretty big range. That die from neurotoxin. Neurotoxin is a pretty big word. And then the cobra's names are the sun and the moon. That's translation. It's Syria, which is the country. And then this is happening in Britain and India. They were, and British soldiers. Where soldiers are used? In a war.
Uh-oh. That's Chris's territory.
Yeah, we can't. I don't know either, but I am fascinated by all of this. And then, except for, I just think it's so mean that people bred the snakes only to kill them so they can make money.
They didn't bred them. They just let them. They don't stay still to be breaded. They don't stay.
Oh
my God! Jeez, that's terrible.
No, but
terrible.
That is terrible. Okay, so that now brings me to the next story, and that is going to be Chris. That is going to be you. If you make any puns like that, we're calling for you. We're coming for you.
That's true. All right.
No fun.
Here we go.
All right. So Prince Rondian, he did, he because of his condition, he learned all of these self-grooming things, but he also learned to paint. He learned to write, and he would hold the brush or the pen in between his teeth, and he was able to use his neck muscles and his lips to maneuver this around. And then he, most impressively though, was the thing that he taught himself to shave, and he did this by using a wooden block. He would attach the razor to the block, and then he would actually move his face. He wouldn't move the razor, so he would move his own face. He again, was brought to the United States by P.T. Barnum, and he did this to he was actually featured in a film along with other side acts from Barnum's show. So he made a fair amount, even though he had this horrible disease, he made a fair amount of money doing all these things.
Oh, I just want to see him save his face for no other reason than I want to see it. Drew, please, your thoughts.
I would just like to take a moment to apologize to all people named Bob out there for
no.
for my insensitive joke. But I just wanted to say that and clear the air. And,
Very nice of you.
Yes.
Stand-up guy.
That's right. Oh, and that's
Wait.
it.
Ooh.
I meant Drew was a stand-up guy. That was not intentional.
Get him out of here.
Ooh.
Treason. Oh my goodness. Okay, so I would like to hear your thoughts, Chris. Whose turn is it? I got thrown. Melissa.
Okay, so I'm just putting some pieces together, though, with saying that. So Chris is going third in the lineup. He heard Drew's story. He heard my story. It involves P.T. Barnum from Drew's. It involves a prince from mine. I'm just saying, there's some things here that seem like they could be inspirational. That's all.
It also involves, if you're talking about thirds, it also involves a third of a person. So you're absolutely, could be a bad strategy, a really weird strategy, but that could be the strategy. Your job is to poke holes in his story, and you have both done it. So now we're going to swing on over to actually, no, we're not swinging on over to anybody. Well, we are, but first we're going to move into the next round.
Oh, is there more input? Did everybody give input?
Oh, did everybody get? Yeah, right.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Solid. Let's do it.
Drew did apologize to everybody named Bob, but not to everybody who has tetraamelie. So
Okay.
I'm just saying.
That's a thing. All right. Well, with that, Gina, are we ready to go to round 3?
We are 100%.
Let's go to round 3.
This is the round where it gets even shorter. So they have 45 seconds. Drew is cleaning his glasses because he's getting ready for the lightning round.
Ready.
So we're lightning rounding, starting with you, Drew. So finish us up on your story about Emily.
Okay. Your round begins now.
Okay, so Emily and John eventually had a bit of an ugly showbiz style breakup. In 1884, Emily using her stage name, published a notice in the New York Clipper that she had severed her relationship with John. John, in turn, published his own notice stating that she had severed their business relationship unilaterally. He also asserted his ownership of the name Nali Damajanti and that he had brought in another performer from Europe to take over the persona. From there, Emily is said to have partnered with another showman named Brent Weiser. Similar snake charming acts began popping up under slightly variant names such as Mali Damajate and Nata Damajate. It was never fully revealed, but it is rumored that these were indeed Emily.
Oh, my goodness. Well, maybe Brent Weiser wasn't so wise because she was still doing it. Chris, your thoughts, please.
Everything I said about Drew in the first round was great pronunciation of all those names. He stumbled over unilaterally and similar.
Too real.
So I take back my praise of his name pronunciation.
All right. Well, Emily didn't poke a hole in your story. He just took back his praise. Melissa, please.
Yeah, I want to point out that a lot of these names seem like things that are inspired by kitchen materials. I think I might be a little bit frozen, but that's okay.
No, we can still hear you.
Well,
maybe. Now you're frozen for sure.
Uh-oh. All right. Well, that's all right. Well, her bandwidth will catch up, I'm sure. All right. Yeah. Well, let's keep on going with the round then, shall we?
Okay, we shall.
All right.
So I am sure that Melissa had a pun in there. And I am. Oh, okay. She's back. Maybe.
She'll catch up.
Yep.
I'm sure that even though she is frozen, she had an icy pun. She's back.
Welcome back to the show, Melissa. Good to see you.
Okay, she's moving. She's 100% moving, and I'm still calling her frozen. I'm sorry, Melissa.
All right. If you could please turn off your Bitcoin mining server, we would appreciate that.
Yes. And so tell us, did you finish your thoughts to poke some holes in Drew's last round?
I just wanted to say that the names that he uses, a lot of them seem inspired by the kitchen. Coupon is like the mustard. You know,
Yeah.
there's Brett Weiser, Budweiser. I also wrote down there was Palmer, like an Arnold Palmer. I'm just saying.
Oh,
I
that's
see a connection.
Do you think he was out at a restaurant somewhere and he was like, I'll make a story. Let me just pull crap from the menu. Okay, I got you. I mean, it's a strategy. Carlos, who is not with us this evening, does that all the time.
Oh, yeah.
So now we're going to actually move into your time, Melissa. This is your last time to tell your story and the last time for the boys to poke holes.
All right. So the snakes are at the zoo, but one day, one of the snakes, some actually got loose, and it caused this fever in the town. People were searching around for the Indian cobra because, like I said, they are deadly. So zookeepers were looking everywhere. They recruited volunteers, actually, that were brave enough to try to find this snake. And they ended up finding the snake coiled up in a corner. And they were able to eventually charm it back into the cage, but there's still like a plaque commemorating the escape of those Indian cobras, even though they've long since passed. They only live 15 to 20 years. But that's the story of the Victoria's snakes.
They have a plaque? Like at the place where he coiled? I love that. I love that. Drew, please, your thoughts on that. And does that ring true? Like, was Emily part of charming him back out of the corner? Or her?
It just occurred to me that it's a missed opportunity that Queen Victoria didn't have a snake, a python named Monty. Really?
Oh, jeez. Oh, Meg.
Oh, that was the holy grail of all jokes.
Oh, there you go. They keep coming.
I can't tell if you're finished or if you're just covering yourself. Okay. Chris, please tell us your thoughts about that last round of Melissa's stories.
Are
you constipated or telling us something?
For some reason, when she started talking about the snake escaping and people looking for it and everything, I suddenly had, wait a minute, this sounds like Snakes on a Plane.
Oh, no.
But it's snakes in the zoo.
It's snakes in the zoo, or not. They escaped.
Oh, yeah, fair. So, and they're dead now. So
yeah.
Very sad moment of peace. Okay, well, Chris, it's actually your turn. And this is the last round of the whole entire show. So those of you playing at home, feel free to make your guesses. Those of you playing in the show, feel free to think of your guesses and start at the boom whenever you're ready.
Okay, so once again, Prince Rondian, who was born during a war in Europe and was discovered by P.T. Barnum, and he had a very good living. He worked for 40 years. While during that time, World War I happened, World War II happened, and then he was he got married. He had 4 children, and he was very successful. But he ended up dying, and he died of natural causes at the grand old age of 63 years old. Unfortunately, he died of a heart attack, but he had a very happy life. And so the cruelest thing, in my opinion, was he was featured. The name of the movie that he was featured in was called Freaks, and that's just wrong. And so anyway, for all this guy was in a sideshow by P.T. Barnum. And kind of considered a freakish person by people of that time, but he was very happy despite that, and he had a good life, and he lived a long time, and he had 4 children.
I love that, and I love that that particular appendage wasn't taken from him. So I love that he was able to have children. That's fantastic. Drew, please, your thoughts.
What a crazy story. Are we sure that we covered all the wars that he
well I just apparently I talk about wars in my story, so I just wanted to make sure I stayed true to form.
Okay. The thumb wars,
like the Korean War, or like was there? I don't know. But
the Portuguese Mana Wars.
He only lived to be 63. We weren't quite there.
Okay. So, I am aware of this film that Chris references called Freaks. I can't say that I've seen it, but I know that it exists. So I'm saying there's some truth, at least that portion.
Are you willing to call Melissa a liar?
Have I heard all of the? Is this everybody? Yeah.
No, we're not at that part.
We're not at the part yet. But I was just curious if it was already because Chris called it really early in the show last time. So
yeah. By process of elimination, right now, I think I have my guess, but I'll.
Okay. All right. Okay. And then Melissa, about Chris's story. Let's finish you up on that, and then we'll go to everybody's guesses.
We did talk about war a lot.
It was in there.
Yeah. Let's see. I think, I think I've heard of that movie too. I do feel like there was a lot of information at the beginning, and then there was just a lot of talking about war at the end.
War. What's it good for? All of Chris's story. Okay, so just on the war effort alone, then that makes you a little skeptical. But we are going to actually go to the part of. I think we're done with all of the rounds, and so since that's the end of the show in that regard, now it is time for the guessing part of the show. So this is where we go to all the and I'm just going to go straight in the order that we've been all show. So I'm going to go to Drew first. Drew, you kind of hinted, but let's get your official guess and maybe your justification as to who you think is the bluff for tonight's show.
So I guess I believe there's a lot of truth in Chris's story. I can see all that happening. I can see P.T. Barnum hiring this guy and bringing him over and having him travel around the country with them. So just based on that, and then just Melissa's story, I mean, there's a lot there that very well could be true, but just a process of elimination, I'd say Melissa is the bluff.
One down. All right, Melissa, your turn. You can get back at him, or you can get Chris. What do you really believe?
Yeah, so there was a lot of acrobatics on both sides here because of the circuses.
Yeah.
But I will say, I think I'm going to go with Drew on this one because of the names. The names were all over the map.
They're all over the map. I know. Okay, so your vote is for Drew. So Chris, you have one vote and one vote only. Who do you vote for?
Well, I agree with Melissa that Drew, was he just rattled off like 77, if I counted correctly, names that could easily have been used in the improv game English Gibberish that I've performed with Drew, and he does it very well. But the thing that threw me, Melissa's use of the phrase neurotoxin. Melissa's a very smart cookie. She's a scientist. She's a teacher. I think that she threw in all these other stuff, and then she gave herself away by just being a little too smart and throwing in neurotoxin. I'm going to say Melissa is the bluff.
So you're voting Melissa because she's smart. I love it. Yeah. Okay. So what that means, the way that this works tonight is that means that Chris, you have no votes. Drew has one. Melissa has two. So Chris, if you're actually the bluff for this show, that means you win the whole show. So I don't even know who actually is bluffing. So I'm going to pull myself out of the feed, turn it over to Adam, our announcer, and have him reveal the bluff for tonight's show.
All right, Gina, thank you very much. I'm now going to reveal who the bluff was. Was your bluff for this show about snakes? Could it have been Drew? Could it have been Melissa? Or could it have been Chris? Let us reveal now who the bluff was for this whole show. Your bluff was Melissa. And she did not get away with it very well. Both historians voted against her.
And she could not vote for herself. I mean, she could, I guess, technically. There you go, Melissa. Don't use big words anymore. Well, you give yourself away.
Yeah. I didn't know that neurotoxin that was a real thing.
Yeah. Cobras really have that, and that's the only part of the story that was true. So
nervous system.
They saw
actually,
right through,
here's a little check though. I think Cobra's venom is not a neurotoxin. I think it's a hemotoxin.
Oh, tell us more, because I don't know what the hell either one of you are talking about.
I may be mistaken, but I'm pretty sure the cobra's bite, or this might be the rattlesnake, but
this is the part where you can look
one
up
of
at
them, I know, yeah. So one of those, a hemotoxin is the one where it turns your blood into a sponge-like mat, and it wrecks your blood, but it does not hit your neurosystems.
Is there?
Right. It acts on the cardiovascular system, including the heart and blood. I'm sorry, Drew, did I cut you off? You go.
No, I was going to say, I was going to ask, is there a snake bite that causes like you to like be paralyzed? Because when Melissa froze, I thought maybe she got bit by a snake.
Oh,
Yeah, because Adam Snakes went into her window. That was what went into her little square. But I hope that everybody, despite the frozen and all the things tonight, had a great time, and I hope you learned something or just had a great time. Like that's to me is more fun. But if you learned something, even better. It's delightful. See? But thanks for coming to History Plus, everybody. This was so much fun. And Adam, take us away. Good night, everybody.
All right. Thank you, Gina, for hosting. Thank you, Drew and Melissa and Chris. This has been History Bluffs, where truth is stranger than fiction. Check us out. Watch us live on Twitch, YouTube, and Facebook, or listen where you get